Folks, you're all very welcome back. Afternoon session, and going to get stuck into process. Going to introduce you to Derek Mullins, who is the heads up the Energy Management Programme and Corporate Facilities and Engineering Group for Amgen's Global Energy Programme, with a focus on sustainability, and he has a background in biotechnology. So, over to you. Just press the space bar.
Thanks, Conor. I know it's just after lunch, and I'm going to bring up a topic now that'll probably put most of you to sleep in about 5 minutes. Measurement. So why measurement? So when I was a 17-year-old apprentice fitter, I was up at Bolton Street down the road on my block release, and it was the end of term maths exam results came in, and I hadn't done too good in it. So I challenged the maths teacher, how come I done so badly in it? And the answer was, well, you got the wrong answer. I said, well, sure, I got the method right. Do I not get most of the marks for that? And what she said was, no, you're in the real world now. Getting the right answer really does matter, because at worst, your employer ends up buying an awful lot of material they don't need. But it could even be worse than that. It could be someone's life is in danger because of your bad calculations. So anyway, rock on 30 years later, and I was over picking up my daughter from the maths building in NUI Maynooth. And I walked through the doors, and there was this fantastic poster met me. So anyone who's old enough to remember the Dirty Harry films will remember this particular moment at the end of it, when Harry has the villain poised down by a pond. And the rest of you who don't remember it, I hate you for being so young. I'm going to make the same case for measurement. Within energy management, measurement actually matters. Quick background for Amgen, I'll run through it really quickly. So we're a biotech company. We have a large amount of products that most of you have probably never heard of, and hopefully there's a good reason why you haven't heard of them, because our therapeutic areas are the areas you don't really want to be getting the treatment for in the first place. But the bit I want to get onto is the fact that when I joined Amgen just almost 5 years ago, it was very much a US-centric company. They had a lot of facilities in North America, one small one outside. Now my network goes everywhere from China and Singapore on one side to West Coast US on the far side, as far south as Brazil and as far north as Iceland. It means I spend a lot of really fun time on the phone with very funny hours. However, the part that I want to show on this is the fact that, unlike most of our peers, we have a very small amount of facilities, which means we can actually get quite good at measurement, so we put a lot of effort into it. Within environmental sustainability, we pride ourselves on being a leader. So we do all the normal things. We issue our annual report. But our energy programme is very much a key component of that, and we're very proud of it. So a couple of years ago, we took the Association of Energy Engineers award for the International Energy Management Programme, and also closer to home, my good friends over in the Dunleary facility where I'm based were certified to ISO 50001, something I'm really proud of them with. As I said, energy and water are a big part of our programme, and measuring it is so much more important. Because we report these results, the expectation is that we can stand over them. Now, we're very clear about this. We measure deliberate efforts, and the way I'll explain that is, if we make an improvement to a chiller system, we measure the improvement based on that. If we shut down a building because that product's come to end of life, we don't take credit for that. But the important thing is we have a portfolio of projects that drives us towards it, but we also have a procedure which explains how we can take credit. And that's really important for when we have to deal with leadership at the end of the year and we're looking at how we've met our goals. They always want to take in the things that you really don't want to take credit for, the ones you get a red face over. Thankfully, we've already defined at the start how we will measure, and that's a really important part of a measurement programme. So, simple thing, well, why does measurement matter? So, quite simply, everyone knows you can't manage what you can't measure. But it's far more than that. Measurement drives understanding. And in the area of environmental sustainability, one of the biggest issues I come across is the fact that there's an awful lot of myths and opinions. We also have the guy that rocks up to one of our executives on the golf course and tells him he has a flux capacitor he's going to sell him. And it's going to save your company a huge amount of money, and it's going to drive your carbon to somewhere below zero. And then I get a Chinese whisper part of this, that this flux capacitor is going to save us all this, and how come you've never heard of this before? That's where measurement comes in. I can run the figures and send it back and say, well, do you know what, it's not really quite that good. Had it been that good, I'd probably already know about it. When it comes to measuring energy though, or water, it can get very complicated once you get dug into units. So again, I deal between imperial units and metric units into one conversation. And then also, you end up having to figure out what units you give to what person. So what I'm going to do now is spend a few minutes talking through some of the simple steps for using effective measurement within your energy management program. So step one is to measure what you're using overall, and that may seem, duh, of course I know that. It's not always that easy. When you have multiple sites and multiple bills coming into multiple sites, being paid out of multiple different expense accounts, it can be very hard to track down. So one of the things we've done is we've installed a central tracking system. This is actually an enable-on system. It doesn't show it because our corporate review board had me removed our logo off it. We call it the Global Environmental Tracking System, or GETS. It's a pretty neat tool because it manages multi-countries, multiple currencies, multiple energy units, and multiple carbon values. So it's really useful for us to be able to account for carbon in multiple areas around the world. To keep ourselves honest, we also have a third-party certified. That isn't fun when it's happening. They drill down through all our calculations and that, but it means we can stand over the figures coming out of it. So it's a very useful tool to have. And for me as a corporate manager, it's very useful for me to be getting the information back in again without having to chase guys to send me spreadsheets. The second step would be to measure where you're using it. So what are your significant users? Within our program, we have set up a set of assessments and a very standard assessment system where we go through our major sites and we identify what the significant users are. So that's the breakout on the left-hand side of the screen for our consolidated approach to our significant users. Now, the reason I've highlighted the blue ones is that they're all related to HVAC. So when I get up each day, do I look at the lighting system? That's one of those little 7% ones down below there, or do I look at HVAC? Yeah, I look at HVAC. On the right-hand, and one other big benefit of this is, again, it keeps us honest. So if I know that compressed air takes up about 1% of our energy spend, and someone comes up to me and tells me they're going to meet their 10% reduction target by doing a compressed air project, I'm not going to take them too seriously. On the right-hand side is a Sankey diagram. Now, we do this again through our energy assessment program, and we developed them for all our energy and water streams. And most of the time we use them as engineering tools amongst our own network, and we'll do them in engineering units. But one of the this particular instance here, I found that I was having trouble explaining to some leadership in kilowatt hours and terms what they were actually looking at. So we converted it into one language that they all understood. We put it into dollars. Now, again, I actually had this broken out in dollars and I had to break it into percentage here, so I apologise for that. But what I found is very useful here. Once they saw this and they could actually break out in actual dollar values to spend in the different areas, they then very quickly understood why I would focus on certain areas, why I would look to do projects in certain areas, and why I'd ignore others. So, next step is to look at what drives the variation within your performance. One of my challenges when I'm doing energy reviews with the site energy leads when we're looking at consumption is that there's always the excuse factor. It was a very hot summer. You weren't here last winter, it was really cold. And try and keep the guys honest. What we've done is there's none of them in the audience, so I'm safe on this one. We've built regression models for all of our major energy streams for our major sites, and we've programmed that into our monitoring system, the one I showed you on step one. So we can predict what we should have used. And then if we deviate from that, we have the question then of why have we deviated? Is it because of some measure that we've implemented? Or have we gone over the amount because maybe we've had creep or something? So this is a really useful tool for me when my vice president asks me, Derek, you know that project, all that money you spent on those projects, how do I know you're actually achieving that? Well, this is a useful way for me to show it to him. So then he says, well, how come it's not showing any lower on that particular site. We said, well, in reality, they had a cold winter, but in addition to that, we've actually shown that we still used less than we would have used. After we've done the assessment programme and we've broken out all the Sankeys and spliced and diced and figured out exactly where we're using the energy, we start looking for opportunities. So out of our assessment programmes, we deliver action plans at each site, and that allows us to cluster together projects and look at the viability of them and to prioritise. This is where measurement comes in really big time, because there's always the perception out there that the one big project is probably the better one to do. It's a slam dunk, it's easy to get it finished, and then you're out of the woods on that. But this is one of the early ones we came across. So it's a boiler house in one of our facilities in North America. When we arrived there was a major project underway. It was in the planning stages for fitting flue gas economisers to the boilers. What we calculated was that if we did a full assessment of the units, which we did, we could deliver more savings through about 10 smaller improvement measures. So we executed the smaller improvement measures. One of them, in fact, was insulation. We stripped off all the older insulation, the US grade insulation, and we replaced it with 4 inches of European level grade insulation. We measured before and after. We proved each step of it. We changed the level control. We put improved level measurement into the boilers. Those 10 smaller measures gave us a better payback than the one big project. The better part of it again was it cost 1/10 of the value. So which did we spend? 5,500,000. Same value. I know where I spend my day. We also use that measurement. I know I keep focusing on the measurement, but we keep driving back to that every time. We use that same measurement to identify synergies within our systems. Anyone who operates clean rooms know the big sin of the fact that we end up doing simultaneous heating and cooling. And most of the time, that's to manage humidity within the area. In Ireland, that's for a few months of the year. In Puerto Rico, that's all day, every day, and every night. So if we can improve on that at all, we can make serious gains. That project on the left-hand side is a heat pump we put in where we take heat from the cooling system, which is a benefit to the cooling system, we reject it into our hot water system, so we can simultaneously manage to heat and cool. Electricity is expensive in Puerto Rico, but so is diesel. When we balanced those up, we made a significant saving. Now, where we can, we try not to do a complex system like that. We're also using heat pipes in the same site to do something similar on laboratory systems. But on the right-hand side, we also have another of those examples of finding synergies. Again, in all our sites, we'll have reverse osmosis systems, purified water, and Wi-Fi systems. And we're quite good at managing our reject rates. However, they are still sizable. So in the Dunleary facility, we've recently installed an RO recovery unit where we take the RO reject, we retreat it, and we pop it back into the system. The nice part about this is that our reject water is now cleaner than the city water. So if we put it into the cooling towers, for example, we're improving the quality of the water and even reducing the blow down further. Now we're on to my favourite topic. As I said earlier on, HVAC is our most significant energy user. If I break that out again, HVAC uses, depending on the site, somewhere between 50 and 70% of the total energy spent. Within our manufacturing sites, I can break that out again. About half of the HVAC spend goes into manufacturing areas, so GMP clean rooms. And the leading driving factor for energy consumption in clean rooms is the air change rate or the ventilation rate. Unfortunately, in our plants and most other people's plants, those air change rates have been determined using rules of thumb that we have just kept up over the years, and usually those are quite conservative. So we've done quite a bit of experimental work on this. We've taken some out of service rooms and we've challenged them with particle generators, and we've tracked particle recoveries. We've also let people loose in clean rooms, doing everything that are not meant to do in clean rooms, and track the particle count rates from there. From there, we've put together a process for adjusting and revalidation of our systems. What I wanted to show you on the large graph was a before and after of 0.5 micron particle counts. Again, unfortunately, I had this taken out of my presentation. So what I can show you here is that it's the class for that particular clean room, the class limit is 3.5 million 0.5 micron particles, which is the top of the graph. And the actual is that kind of smudgy black line along the bottom of it. The before and after are identical. Now, even if I could zoom in on this and show it to you, so if anyone wants to talk to me afterwards, I can show you a real graph. What we found is that we can make significant reductions without impacting the environmental control within the area. The more interesting part of it is that the environmental monitoring actually isn't our biggest problem. Our biggest problem is usually the fact the systems were over-designed in the first place, and we end up limited on the amount of turn down we can do because of that, rather than by what the environmental monitoring will actually drive us towards. So the project's not over at that stage. And again, one of the challenges I get from my VP is, well, how do I know you have delivered the results? And that can get very complicated when you're changing and when you're doing multiple projects one after another and you don't really have a long time in between them. Or in this particular case here, where we ran 3 successive projects, and in the middle of all that, we did a major facility expansion. So this is actually from the Dunleary facility down the road. We did a steam consolidation project, so that's in the section C there, which is the third one across. I'm struggling to see it. So we had big gains on reducing standing losses. We then built on an expansion which ate away all of the gains we generated. But think about that. We'd actually expanded the facility by 50%, and we'd used the gains from another project to pay for the gas bill. Our gas bill didn't go up. We did 2 successive projects after that, and you can see by the end of it, the difference between the predicted and the actual is quite significant. But we're able to measure that and stand over it. That's the key importance of measurement. Finally, after you've done all your projects, how do you sustain it? So one of the areas we're investing quite heavily in at the moment is putting together performance indicators using information that we already have. Metering is great, but it's expensive. So we look for other indicators. So we look for all the information back from our automation systems and how we can use that information to infer energy performance. So at the moment we're working on a very exciting project using big data to take all the data back from all of our sites for all of our major systems and use it to do advanced analytics, but also to track the performance indicators. We've actually executed about 4 different pilots on this one before we decided on the current one. Again, it'd be a long day for me to talk about those. So in conclusion, although a boring subject, measurement, I feel, is possibly the most important component of your energy management system. And anyone I talk to about metering understands my thoughts on this. Metering is really expensive. It's great, but really, really expensive. And even when you do buy that expensive meter, usually it spends 2 years sitting on the storage shelf waiting for the shutdown to get the pipe break to install it. And finally, you can't watch everything all of the time, and when you try doing that, nothing's actually important after a while because you can't actually see the real thing that you need to be watching. So I always look at measurement as a journey. You need to keep reviewing it and changing what you measure and changing what you focus on, because it's that journey that drives you towards better understanding, and it's that journey towards understanding that delivers to you opportunities that allows us to make the reductions. So, thanks very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Derek. It's great.